Hi, I'm Ildiko SpinFisher. I'm the founder of Life Retuning, a psychological, human energy-based modality which sidesteps the mind. I'm known as the Quantum Wizard. I work with heart-centered entrepreneurs globally to unlock their greatest potential and upgrade their success. I run workshops and courses teaching about energy wisdom. I feel blessed to have the opportunity to share with you on the Be Woke podcast show, and I want to thank you for being here with us today.
Hi everyone, my name is Julie Salant and I am an animal communicator and transformational intuitive coach. My gift is that I am able to see negative energies that are blocking you and remove them with light language and bring in positive energy to bring you back into alignment. I'm also an animal communicator, and I really love talking with Ildiko because she brings the science to what our discussions are, and I'm the intuitive part. Thank you for being here. We're looking forward to having you on all the podcasts. Thanks so much. Hey everyone, this is Julie Salant and Ildiko SpinFisher. I'm going to, there we are, we can see both of us. So we have a very special podcast for you today, and this is in reference to what is happening in the world today. We're calling this one Positive Tools for a World in Health Chaos. As everyone knows, there's quite a bit going on in terms of our world, our health, what's happening all over the globe. Things are changing rapidly. And Ildiko and I thought that instead of talking about the heart and things that we were normally going to talk about, we wanted to stop and really take a minute to give you some tools, some options, some information that will help you to manage your stress levels, perhaps bring you back to a place of happiness and joy, even though there's a lot going on in the world. So I'm Julie Salant. Ildiko, thank you for being here. As always, I love talking with you.
Thank you, Julie, and I love talking with you as well. Our discussions, I think, are amazing. Hi, listeners and viewers out there. We really do feel for you and feel the connection with you right now with what is going on. Yes, we are going through tough times, but we're all in it together. And we both, me and Julie, want to share our expertise from our many years of working with you in this episode, because we really feel that it's vitally important that you get all of the help and the support that you possibly can. So we're going to be talking to you in this episode about several aspects which we think are important to know about. But the main thing we want to make sure or ensure is that you don't have your joy stolen because of what's going on right now. You are living your lives, and those lives need to be full of joy and happiness and contentment, whatever is going on in your environment and on the global and the local stage. So we feel that's very important, right, Julie?
Absolutely. And what we're going to do is give you some tools, some information, and we're going to start off with the fight or flight response. I'm sure so many of you know what this is. It's been around for a long time. Ildiko, I actually, from my point of view, because I have a horse, and horses always run, and all animals run, and us as humans too, on fight or flight. Right. Horses are well known for thinking if there's a dinosaur around the corner, they go into this flight mode.
Yeah.
And Ildiko will explain what that means in terms of our bodies. But I think Ildiko thinks that right now, this is what's happening in the world. When you turn on the TV, locally and globally, there's a lot of fear being projected towards you, to the point where it's gotten to an actual panicked state. When a panicked state hits a person or an animal, they go into a fearful flight mode. So Ildiko, let's start with that, because I believe that's where a lot of people are. So let's start and meet them where they are.
Yes, absolutely. So as Julie quite rightly said, the fight-flight response is what's being activated now. although we don't go into details about, we don't talk about politics, we don't talk about anything of that nature in our show, but we do want to talk about the impact of the media that it's having on you. I want to put things into a little bit of perspective. So earlier on today, in preparation for this episode, I was curious to find out if we look at the influenza virus, which hits every year, as we know, and obviously we have the flu vaccine that is encouraged for certainly older people and those with previous health conditions. So just having a look back at the previous years as to how many people actually succumbed to the flu virus. And because I'm in the UK, I just wanted to check out the UK figures. And for 2018, it was something like 17,000 people. So when I look at that figure, and then I look at how many people have actually died because of the current virus, the one that's going around the globe, it puts things into some context. Also, we need to be looking at the age groups, because there's not really an awful lot of information out there about the age groups of who is more or less vulnerable. But I suspect that from the little bit of information that I have managed to glean, obviously it is the more elderly part of our population and those who already have a lower immune system because of other health-related illnesses. So I just wanted to put that out there first of all, because it's not being discussed. And I think it's important to just take a step back and have a look at the figures, have a look at, what is going on from that perspective historically. However, obviously I am well aware of the severity of what we are facing. And my heart is with those, my thoughts are with those who are going through very tough times and losing loved ones. That's really very, very difficult. But we want to talk about the fight-flight response, because when you are going through challenging times, you are being told bad news and you are being given a risk assessment. What you will do inevitably is going to the fight-flight response. So this is our ancient reaction to danger, which is activated by a very ancient part of us, which is the limbic brain. So the limbic brain really takes us back to prehistoric times, because our brains have not evolved significantly and biologically since ancient times. So we still have the fight-flight response today as powerfully as ever. And so let me explain what the fight-flight response actually is. So our nervous systems run on, a lot of it runs on automatic, and the automatic is the parasympathetic nervous system, which breaks down into two parts. There's the autonomous, I'll get my words right, autonomous nervous system, which breaks down into two parts. There's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic is your fight-flight response. So it's where you get scared or anxious about something. It's a fear response. And what happens is three very powerful hormones secrete into your bloodstream immediately. Those are adrenaline, which I'm sure you've heard of, because that's what kicks in when you're running, for instance, when you're playing sports. Then there's cortisol, which is less known and has a different function than the adrenaline. And the third one is aldosterone. So not going into too much detail in this episode, but the cortisol is affecting you, making sure that you are able to cope with the stress levels that are coming. The aldosterone raises your blood pressure so that your heart pumps the blood around your body faster so that you can run, so that the blood gets into your muscles, so that your legs are powered up, so you get out of a situation fast, or that you are strong enough to fight in a cornered situation. That is what the fight-flight response is. But it also happens when we not just have a physical threat, but we have a threat where the words are coming at us. So we are told about a risk. Like, for instance, with this health crisis that we are facing now. The more you listen to the news, the more you focus on the minute details on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, in fact, the more your fight-flight response will activate. And you may even get to a point where your stress response is actually working against you and lowering your immune system, which is what you absolutely don't want to happen. Because what we need to be focusing on is strengthening up our immune systems. So the stress hormones, if they're firing all the time, eventually what they actually lead to is adrenal fatigue. Now, I personally have actually experienced adrenal fatigue, and it's not something I would wish on anybody, because you feel exhausted all the time. There's several different symptoms. You can actually experience a heightened feeling of doom because your adrenals are not topping up, because you're using them up all the time. The adrenals are exhausted, literally. There are many different symptoms: insomnia, bad digestion, headaches, bad vision problems. There are many things that can come from adrenal fatigue. But if you're allowing yourself to have this firing all the time, then it can lead to secondary problems. So the fight-flight is what we want. Me and Julie want to get you out of today, help you, give you tools to make sure that you don't have this constant panic situation in your mind, and especially in your bodies.
Exactly right. And in terms of how you're feeling when you are, because remember, the brain doesn't know reality versus actually what's really happening, right? So
Yeah.
what Ildiko's saying is, if they're talking about, this fear and this chaos all coming out from your TV and everywhere you turn, and people are talking about it, and these three things are firing all the time, you're in that awareness and heightened state of, I've got to run, I've got to get out of here, I'm afraid. Which means, in the overall scheme of things, that you cannot hear anyone else in terms of opportunities to change, opportunities to lower those levels, to come back to, what are my options? That's not even on the table. If you're running from a dinosaur, I'm not going to stand in front of you and say, hey, you know what? You could not, this could be fake. This could be, maybe you don't even need to run. It doesn't really make sense, because you're in overload and it's actively happening. So your body is going forward from the things that have been firing, and you're just going to run. But what we want to do today is give you some tools to step back and to realize what's happening, as Ildiko just said, and then how can we relieve some of the stress and make some positive choices that will impact you, and so that you're not in this constant state of chaos and fear and fight or flight.
Absolutely, Julie, quite correct. I want to add something to this, and Julie already mentioned it, that you can't think straight. The reason you're not thinking straight out there, guys, is because biologically you cannot have your emotional mind and your logical mind activated at the same time. This comes back to the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. When the sympathetic is activated, it's your fight-flight. When the parasympathetic is activated, it's your relaxation mode. But you know very well, have you ever been stressed and relaxed at the same time? No, you can't be. So you know what it's like. You get this brain fog. It's almost like your brain shuts down. And that's exactly what's happening, because you have to focus on the threat and only the threat. So your lives are impacted because you can't focus and think logically and come up with some practical solutions for other things outside of this particular issue. So that's exactly right. That's why it happens.
And how long is it? It seems as though it's easy to switch, but once you're in that state, Ildiko, is there a time frame as to when you actually, your body and your brain start to ramp down? Because instantly, you know, we used to have predators a long, long time ago, and this was all to keep us safe. You could run away from a dinosaur, or you could fight if you were in a terrible situation. So is there a time frame to when your brain and your body actually ramp down to, okay, I'm safe now?
Yeah, it doesn't happen automatically from one moment to another, because these powerful hormones that are secreted into your bloodstream have to actually come out of your bloodstream. So they have to stop their activity. Now, traditionally, going back to caveman days when we did have predators, you know, one of the things that would happen is your breathing accelerates when you are in fight flight. So shallow breathing from the top of the lungs and very, very fast to get the oxygen into the bloodstream so that you can actually function, because the oxygen goes into the muscles as well. So all of that has to calm down. So it's almost like having this bomb going off in your entire system and then calming down from the bomb. So yes, absolutely, it does take time. But what I want to mention here is, as opposed to a predator that you run away from, you climb up the tree and you get away from, and then you have time to just relax down. That's not happening at the moment, because what is happening is that there is constant information which is fear-based and threat-based. So what that then does is it doesn't give your body the opportunity to come down from the fight-flight response. And this is what we call unresolved stress. And unresolved stress is the most dangerous stress, because there's nowhere for that that adrenal and cortisol and aldosterone to kind of go. It stays in the muscles because it gets activated again and again and again. So it actually goes into the muscles and it's waste products. It doesn't flush out easily.
Wow. And that makes so much sense, because if I turn on the TV and then I get some bad news or some threat-based news and some fear-based news, and I go into that state and then I say, you know what, I'm going to step away from this because that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm not hiding my head in the sand, but I know what's going on, and I'm choosing how I want to expose myself to these stressors.
Yeah.
But if they keep coming on and you're on your computer, let's just say, and guys, this is happening, right? I'm on my computer with Ildiko, and all of a sudden you get a little ding, and oh, so-and-so is, you know, things are happening in the world.
On your phone.
Yes.
And that's all the headlines coming up, one after another.
Yes, constantly. So it keeps recreating the state.
Yes, it does. That's what's happening in the body. That's what's happening in our bodies and in our minds. To become consciously aware of what's happening to you, that's the first step you want to talk about. Be aware of what your body's doing. Be aware that the stress state that's being created is also detrimental. So what you want to do is, if there's nothing actually really happening, it's just in potential, and you are protecting yourself, as indeed our governments have been telling us the information, and our medical institutions, which is exactly what we need to follow. But apart from that, you can help yourselves by making sure that you just reduce your stress levels and give your immune system a chance to be as strong as possible against any illness, not just this particular one.
Which is super important. That's the whole point. The whole point is not to just give you tools and options, but to keep you at your strongest, because that's the most important thing that you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
So other than turning off the TV, we like to talk about breathing, because now we've talked about the flight or fight, but if you can step back from that, a really great tool is breathing, and breathing deeply.
Yeah. Yeah. So as Julie says, breathing is really important. Breathing is directly linked to our bodies. Our breath and body are linked. We know this from the yogic tradition. Breathing is very important in yoga. It's the prana. Breathing brings in the energy, the chi or prana. Chi is the Chinese word. Prana is the Vedic word, the Indian word. But it's the breath and the energy that vitalizes the body. But it also calms the body. And you can calm your body and your mind down very quickly if you are doing breathing techniques. And the one I want to recommend here is the 3-part breath, because it's very, very simple and you can all do it at home, especially if you have watched something on the TV or read something and you start feeling that panic rising. To calm yourselves down, the 3-part breath is very, very powerful. So I want to actually just take you through this breathing technique. And it's good to find somewhere to sit with your feet firmly on the ground and supported in a chair or a couch. And make sure that your airways are open so that you're not hunched over, you're sitting with a straight back, and you are as relaxed as you possibly can be. Pay conscious attention to your shoulders. Just take a moment and take the intention to relax and drop your shoulders, first of all. And I know that in our Western society, especially for ladies, pushing your stomach out is not the done thing. But when it comes to yogic breathing, it's actually important to just release your stomach. Allow it to do what it needs to do naturally. Don't pull it in. So whilst you're sitting here, just take a couple of natural breaths. Find your own natural rhythm. Just taking a breath in and out. And then another breath in and out. And the next breath you're going to take, focus on filling your stomach. Push your stomach out and fill it to the maximum that you can. And then let the breath go into your ribs and imagine your ribs expanding out front and back and to the sides. And then finish the breath off by feeling it in the top of your chest. And when you breathe out from your stomach first. So allow your stomach to just pull back, allow the air out. Then allow it out of your ribs, that then contract, and then breathe the last of the breath out from the top of your chest. And we'll do it again. So breathing into your stomach, releasing it, letting it drop outwards, filling it entirely like a big balloon. You can put your hands on your ribs, and as you breathe in, continue that breath into your ribs and expand your ribs out and feel them expanding. And then finish the breath by just breathing the last of it into your top of your chest. And when you breathe out from your stomach, let it just drop back to your spine, breathing out like you are releasing the air out of the balloon. Then continue allowing the breath to come out from your ribs, feel your ribs contracting, and finally release it from the top of your chest out completely. And we're going to take another one of these 3-part breaths and make it more smooth. So breathing into your stomach, allowing it to feel like a balloon. Continue the breath into your chest. Feel your ribs expanding outwards. Finish the breath, breathing into the top of your chest and breathing out. Allow your stomach to pull in as the breath goes out. Out of your ribs, allow them to contract. And the top of your chest, breathing out the last of that breath. And just return to a natural rhythm of breathing, but do not allow your stomach to constrict. Just breathing naturally, gently. Now then, are you feeling calmer? Are you feeling more in control? This is the power of the breath.
Absolutely. And I have read, and I know from experience, that when you breathe in physically, it is impossible for your body to speed up. When you breathe in like this correctly, your body has to slow down.
Yeah, everything slows down.
It has to. It's physically impossible for you to speed up when you're breathing like this. In fact, one of the things that they always tell us is if I'm nervous is I always have the tension in my shoulders and my stomach. And you're tight and you're holding it in.
Yeah.
When you deep breathe like this, your body has no choice but to slow down.
It doesn't. And in fact, what I've done is take you into the parasympathetic, the autonomic nervous system, out of the fight flight. So this is a very powerful way of just switching over
to a state of more awareness, more clarity, and bringing yourself, I think, back to base, if you will. In other words, into a place where I feel as though I have some control.
That's right.
Because really, we know that we can only control ourselves. We cannot control what's around us, but you can control yourself. And this is a very important tool. As Ildiko said, you can do this anywhere at all. You know, you can, as long as you just can take a few minutes, obviously not in your car driving, but anywhere else, you can do this. You can be waiting in the office. You can be working in your office. You can be anywhere and do this.
Anywhere, absolutely, because we breathe everywhere. So all we're doing is focused breathing, intentional breathing.
And what about setting your intentions around any of these tools that we're talking about, Ildiko? Because that seems to me to be very powerful as a powerful element.
It does, and the intention is to have a good experience. So what we want to share with you today is that you have a choice. It might sound as if you don't have a choice because of what you're reading and hearing, but you absolutely have a choice. You have a choice to dwell in fear or to choose joy. We all have this option. No matter what is going on out there, we have the choice to make sure that our internal environment is the one that we want to be experiencing.
And choosing an empowered state, as Ildiko said, is probably one of the most important things that we can teach you today.
We would like to take your hand and step into this year in a different, empowered way that no one is discussing. We invite you to come with us on this journey to show you a different way of being, to get to the deep truth of things, instead of having another year of ups and downs with the same patterns. In essence, we are going to help set you up for success.
We have a SMART two-part experience just for the listeners. And the SMART experience is an acronym for the S is for simplicity, the M is for motivation, the A is for action, the R is for reconnection, and the T is for transformation. And we are offering an expansive experience first with Ildiko, who will remove blockages with energy, and then Julie, who will introduce the light language to infuse you with light, clarity, and positive purpose. So this is a large transformation in not only how you'll feel energetically, but also how you will experience and view the world and opportunities that are open to you. And this will be a session with each of us individually. If you'd like more information, please click the link, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast.